Right. Hello and welcome to another video. As usual, my name is Jeffrey and this is Inquisitive Universe. So let's get started. This one is going to be one of those videos I want to talk. So I'm talking. let's just have this conversation. And this conversation is about the demise of the mid-range. Because for those people who do not know, let me halt that, because for those people that do not know, right? In the recent past, it's not so distant. It's probably not even up to 10 years at this point. You had flagship, you had low end, high end, low end, flagship, low end. There was nothing in between, in the middle. So people were, Samsung and Co were busy pushing the iPhone, let's get that iPhone, let's get them, we need to chase them down. And then they were like, oh, okay, let's just do phone for people that cannot buy. So it was basically, you now saw phones like, the Chinese manufacturers, all of them, they were scrambling to fill the bottom stage, the Doogies of this world, the Legos, the Injus, and so on and so forth. They're scrabbling. Even Samsung threw their J series down there in the entry level segment. So there were people like me who wanted to do more with their phones and did not want to buy used phones. There was nothing for us to get because we could not afford flagships. We did not want entry level. What do we do? That was when the mid-range segment was born. It was MediaTek with their Helio X series, right? The ill-fated Helio X series that actually proved that you could actually have a processor, because phones, one of the key parts of a smartphone is the processor. In fact, dare I say, it's even the most key, probably the most important, because we rate phones based on performance, whether it's flagship, whether it's mid-range, whether it's low-end. We rate them on their processors. And if the processor is not up to scratch, you say this phone is not, I'm not using this phone, Joe. You just imagine picking up a phone with a processor that cannot even run common PUBG or eFootball or struggles with Facebook and Instagram. Is that one a phone? No, of course it's not. You understand that? So that's why, the emphasis, I always tell people, before you buy a phone, check what processor is on it. Don't go and buy one phone that has a G37 because they put AMOLED screen inside for you and plenty camera, and you're like, hey, this phone is bubbling. You now go and spend 90-something thousand on it. I'll look at you like somebody that does not have sense. Honestly. So you're checking processors before you buy phones. It's very, very important that you do so. So MediaTek were the ones that put out their Helio X series in that place, and then that was when Qualcomm woke up and said, "Yay!" So there's been a market here all this while, and then they brought about their 600 series that started shitting out processors like the 625, for example, the 636, for example. I think there's 626 as well, but 636. I think there's also 635. I'm not very sure now. The ones I'm sure of are the 650, 660, 665. There's 662. There's 675. There's 678. There's 680. There's 685. Like 600 series family of processors for the mid-range. And I think I got one of them, Redmi Note 7 in 2019. The Redmi Note 7 had a Snapdragon 660. And then, as if that was not enough, 700 series, Qualcomm added the 700 series to give you even that space there, the lower mid-range. They now had an upper mid-range with the 700 series. And Qualcomm didn't go to sleep too. Yes, despite the fact that they had a little setback with their Helio X series, they moved on. They gave us anything above the G series now. They gave us the G series, anything above G90 and above, upper mid-range, anything below the G90, lower mid-range. And there were lots of processors. Like off the top of my head, I can say lower mid-range now, you would have the Helio G70, G80, G85, G88. Right, upper mid-range G90, G90T, G95, G96, G99, and there were processors. They were at least every year they were dropping at least one or two processors for the mid-range segment, and as a result, the mid-range market boomed. And Xiaomi were the ones who took advantage of the mid-range market the most. They shipped over 300 million Redmi Note phones. The Redmi Notes are predominantly mid-range. I don't think any other segment of the Xiaomi company, high-end or low-end, can match what the Redmi Notes did. 300 million phones. What's the population of the world that they shipped 300 million phones? I don't know if you're following. Then all of a sudden, crash. We will not see mid-range phones anymore. What we were seeing are rehash of old phones. Redmi 10 came out twice, right? Now, if you have a Redmi Note 10 or Redmi Note 11, you don't need the Redmi Note 12 because it's basically the same phone. Even the Redmi 10C, which is a slight downgrade on the Redmi Note 11. Right, it's still good enough for function. It's still good enough for use. If you look at the performance side of things, the performance and the camera side of things alone, it's still good. Can still raise shoulders and booga with the Redmi Note 11s and the Redmi Note 12s of this world. If you have Redmi 10C, it's just that the charging will disgrace you and the screen in front will be a disappointment. But when you say performance and cameras, Redmi Note 10C can rub shoulders with those guys. So we now see that the entire Redmi Note, people who bought you see Xiaomi now as a case study because they're the ones who have been hit the most. Using the Xiaomi as a case study, people who bought a Redmi Note 10 Pro have absolutely no reason to upgrade their phones for the last 2 years. And what happened? Because the Redmi Note 11 series, if I have Redmi Note 10 Pro, my Redmi Note 10 Pro is better than the entire Redmi Note 11 series apart from the 5G variants. My Redmi Note 10 Pro is better than the entire Redmi Note 12 4G series apart from the 5G variants. So why should I upgrade my phone? Why should I buy a new one? And you see that as a result, due to this lack of innovation in the mid-range market, this lack of proper mid-range offerings. Many companies, their stock, especially Xiaomi, they were the ones who benefited the most. They were the ones who are taking the hardest hit. Their stock is plummeting, it's going down, because if people are not buying new phones, how will your revenues go up? And some people say, when it comes to like, they are not seeing anything new from Xiaomi that would prompt them to trade their phones. They've moved on, because whatever it is that Xiaomi are offering right now, in terms of the mid-range segment, not just them, Samsung is also, I think Samsung have done some really good new mid-range SoCs, which I'm very impressed by, but their pricing is still horrendous. Other companies that you can call in that segment, Oppo, Realme, Vivo, Transsion with their Tecno and Infinix, their mid-range offerings are just makeup, icing on a bad cake. They'll be giving you, some of them are even that's unscrupulous, to be giving you lower mid-range or even budget SoCs, and then they'll slap a mid-range display on it and a mid-range camera on it and say, here's your mid-range offering, sir. And it's that's why many people have I don't know, most people now are saying that if I have money, I'll just go and buy a flagship or a flagship killer. And yes, most of these companies, which is what they actually want. Imagine bringing down high-end specs from the flagship down to the mid-range. And then there's another thing too that's affected the mid-range. It's pricing. Before, okay, adjusting for inflation, before, the mid-range segment used to be known as the sub $300 category phones. And if we're going to be adjusting for inflation, we'll say make it, like, all right, let's say sub 350, sub 400, right? Technically, it's still supposed to be the sub 300. And there is no way people will tell me that chips, the old chips, haven't gotten cheaper. Right, the old Cortex A77 CPUs have gotten cheaper. Definitely, they should have. I mean, we're seeing A78 on something like the Snapdragon 4 Gen 1, meaning that they've probably gotten cheaper. We're seeing A78 on Samsung's Exynos mid-range, the Exynos 1280, the Exynos 1330. I think there's the Exynos 1380 as well. I'll go check that now. So the A78 CPUs are now probably more affordable, with better performance than the A76 that people are currently using now. So why is the pricing not saying, okay, fine, let's keep the prices stable, so that these companies will offset? I mean, since the production materials are now cheaper, the pricing should be stable, right? I don't know what's happening. I really can't say. I am not an insider in the industry. I'm just an outsider looking in and trying to make sense of the whole thing, because it's not making any sense. And the mid-range is, I don't know, since last year, people have been saying the mid-range is dying, the mid-range is dying. The used market is even making a comeback. People are like, you know what, I'm not getting any mid-range phone anymore. I'm getting something better. I'm getting an old flagship. I think some, what's it called now? Some big YouTubers are even advocating people, advising that they should go get a used flagship instead of a mid-range phone. So what do you think is happening to the mid-range now? Do you think there's any hope? Do you think things will be better in future? Do you think maybe this is just a temporary blip? Or maybe after the whole ARM-v9 debacle has settled, that it will get better? I don't know. Just let me know what you think. This video may in the end turn out to be misguided in 6 months when the mid-range market kicks back, and then I'll be left with egg on my face. Oh, but just let me know. My name is Jeffrey once more. Thank you for coming. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.